The divorce, bankruptcy, and injury attorneys at Hait, Eichelzer, and Kuhn are champions for their clients. In partnership with Atlanta and Company, they want to help answer your burning questions. Right now, text HELAW to 25543 for questions, or you can even speak to an attorney. Now, this morning, Elizabeth Kuhn is here, and we're going to talk about the facts and the fiction. Good thing you're going to do all the talking since I can't talk, of child custody cases. Good morning.
Good morning.
Love having you on here. And a big deal, a big child custody battle just wrapped. We're not even sure if it officially wrapped in Hollywood. Camille and Kelsey Grammer. What happened there?
Basically, regardless of whether you're a celebrity or not, custody battles face millions of Americans over their lifespan. And basically, the two of them couldn't agree on how to share their children. And if two people can't agree, they end up in a courtroom. And in that particular situation, of course, I'm limited to the tabloids just like everybody else.
Sure.
Apparently, Kelsey's in Chicago, wants to come out to LA, see the kids. I'm going to be there 6 days. Hey, can I have them? You know, there was some type of discrepancy, discussion, argument, fight
Yes.
over how that would occur. And the judge had to get involved because they couldn't work it out.
And it's so sad because I'm sure this happens all the time. You must see this all the time, where suddenly a parent's like, hey, I want to do this. And then the other partner is left deciding, okay, well, wait, those are my days. And there's just all this conflict. So what's the solution?
Unfortunately, the solution is very limited. If parties can't agree, they have to take that particular issue to a judge who decides, you know, what's going to happen with your children's lives as it relates to the parents. And a lot of people are under the misconception that this is an instantaneous process.
Right.
It's not. You know, for example, in the state of Georgia, if somebody's coming in out of town and you say, oh, well, you know, I'm coming in, for example, today's Kol Nidre and tomorrow's Yom Kippur. Well, somebody might say, well, you know, grandma's coming in tomorrow. Can I have the kids? No, it's my weekend. Well, you can't just get into court and you're going to suffer the consequences. So you really need to look long-term planning.
Plan ahead.
Right. If you can't get along, and odds are if you're getting divorced, you're not getting along.
Of course.
You're not going to get along with regards to your children. It's unfortunate and the children suffer.
Absolutely. And I know in the case of the Grammers, it was the first time the two came face to face, you know, since being separated. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's both, and here's why. They have children together. They are going to be spending their lives together, not as a married couple.
Sure.
The first time shouldn't be high school graduation. It shouldn't be somebody's funeral. It shouldn't be, I believe he's missing recitals and not attending ballet shows and things of that nature because mom's there. That's absolutely ridiculous. The two of them need to set their emotions aside and they need to focus on their children because they're going to be with each other the rest of their life because they have children together.
Exactly. Well, on this child custody issue, Jason from Atlanta, one of our Facebook friends, has a question on behalf of his brother who's going through a divorce right now. Okay. He says if all goes as planned, they will have equal joint custody. But what's to prevent her from just up and moving, thereby making things much more difficult for both of them? Is there a unwritten or perhaps written limitation as to how far one can move without requiring approval from a court and or spouse?
That's a very, very good question, and that is something that transient Atlantans face on a regular basis. The U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment, provides all Americans the right to travel freely from state line to state line, and also if you're allowed to, you know, have a passport, you can travel outside the borders of the United States.
Sure.
Oftentimes, there is nothing stopping a parent from moving because unless there's good reason, a court can't. So typically what people will do in a joint custody situation is they will say the children will go to Oakwood Elementary School. The children will go, you know, to Lassiter High School or whatever that might be. So that's fine. Go ahead and move. Go to Alaska. But the kids are going to Lassiter, so how do you plan on doing your 50-50 parenting time?
Right.
And that's one of the ways to protect it. You can't put language in a settlement agreement that if you move 100 miles away, I automatically get custody. That's also illegal. And that's something that we see, and I've said several times on the show, mistakes of people who try to represent themselves because they don't know the ins and outs of the U.S. Constitution. They don't know the ins and outs of state law.
Oh, so scary. And luckily, I heard that you have a seminar here in Atlanta that parents must take before a divorce can be granted. Tell me all about this.
Yes, that's only where they're children. And what it is, it's called the Seminar for Divorcing Parents. And our legislature passed a law a few years ago that, you know what, y'all are going through a divorce, you aren't getting along, and you're putting your kids in the middle of it. Well, you need to be educated on how to behave like a human being so that your children don't suffer. And it's a 4-hour class of how do we work together, how do we co-parent, how do we put our differences aside so that our children can live the life, a happy, successful life that both parents really want their kids to live.
Sure, absolutely. And let's talk about child support. That's always an issue that comes up with this topic. There's a worksheet that people can actually fill out, much like a tax return, that's going to determine how much child support a parent should pay. So tell me more about that.
Okay, back in 2007, the Georgia legislature changed our child support laws. It used to be a very simple calculation. It used to say, okay, well, if you have one child, the non-custodial parent will pay 17 to 23% of their gross income, so that's before tax dollars, to the non-custodial parent. Most people settled on 20%. Well, that wasn't really fair if you made $3 million a year,
sure,
paying 20%, or if you only made $1,000 a month, paying 20%. That's kind of high for somebody.
Right.
So the legislature's created what we call income sharing, and it takes both parents' income into consideration. Another thing that it does is it considers costs of daycare and costs of health insurance.
Yes.
Because that's great, you know, okay, well, I was only getting $200 a month child support, daycare's $800,
right,
why aren't you helping me? And that's what it does. And there are lots of attorneys, and the worksheets are available online. You can search them and just kind of give you an idea. But again, you need an attorney because it's like a tax form,
right,
and it's not simple.
This brings up another point. You must see so much in the last few years with a parent who made X amount and now it's dropped considerably because of the economy. So they have to, I imagine, amend this worksheet or definitely go in front of the judge and say, look, I cannot pay this right now.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, and that actually brings up another interesting point. A lot of people who are getting along say, you know, I've lost my job, I can't pay you $1,500 a month child support, I'm earning $300 a week unemployment, can I pay you $300 a month? And the other parent, of course, you know, in an ideal situation is understanding, but that's not binding. And that parent can come back 5 years down the road,
ooh, and
file a lawsuit for contempt, and you owe all the back child support, and it gets hit at one time. So again, you can modify anything the things you can modify post-divorce are child custody, child support, and visitation.
Okay.
And it's always nice knowing that it's not absolutely final if you agree to that number. So again, very important that you stay in contact with your legal counsel. If there's a material change in your life,
yes,
you need to let your attorney know.
Yeah, that's why you can't, as you've said before, you can't take these things on yourself. No. You may think that you can, but that's why you have to leave it to the experts because so much happens. You can't leave things
Correct.
to chance. So many different outside variables. And why is Georgia one of the few states that allow jury trials? I did not know this.
Yes, actually, Christine, it's kind of interesting. One of the jokes is, you know, I got married by a judge, I should have asked for a jury. Right. Because Georgia is one of the few states where you can have a jury trial by divorce. So imagine 12 people who don't know you.
Oh my goodness.
Deciding your fate. So I've actually done 2 jury trials, and I've polled the jury. They do not like making decisions.
I bet.
And you can get a divorce by jury. I think we're one of the only states, there may be one more, that does allow that.
Wow, unbelievable. So interesting. It's always so great to have you on. Great legal advice. Thank you, Elizabeth, as always.
Yes, thank you so much.
And remember, if you have a question or if you'd like to speak to one of the attorneys at Hait, Eichelzer, and Kuhn, text them right now to HELAW, HELAW, 25543, and someone from their office will get back to you. And for more information about Hait, Eichelzer, and Kuhn, log on to their website, he-law.com, or give them a call, 770-517-0045.